I wonder how many of you remember this story. Now, this is something. This guy's wife, at 57 years old, who's been married for 27 years, wants an open relationship. Man, these stories are getting crazier and crazier as I narrate them. This woman should be trying to be a grandma instead of trying to opening up her marriage. Well, I never thought I would be telling anyone this, but my wife at 57 wants an open relationship, and I never saw it coming. My wife is a successful entrepreneur, comes from a wealthy family. She owns two coffee shops, two laundromats, and three homes. Seems like this woman has her stuff together. I am 59. We have two kids. They are on their own. They both are in different states. We live in Texas. I would say we had a very successful marriage. My wife has never once said anything about an open relationship, and our sex life was good. At least I thought so at our age. In the whole time we have been married, this so called dead bedroom everyone speaks of never happened to us. There were no warning signs to my knowledge. She was never out of place, always contacting me when she was supposed to be somewhere, never had any issues with her phone or her hiding her phone. I am thinking he missed some subtle red flags. Sometimes red flags are not glaring, so they won't stand out. But one warning sign popped up out of nowhere. It wasn't evident at first. Her attire started to change. Some of her clothes were more fitting than usual. Yep, that's a red flag. He didn't miss that one. At 57, my wife looked really good. She ate healthy, she went to the gym, and she ran. So did I. We didn't work out together because our schedules were so different. I worked for a software company, and my wife was basically her own boss. We used to chat with each other throughout the day, but that stopped. Yep, any kind of change in communication, especially if it's drastic, that's a red flag. But one night when I came home from work, my wife wasn't home yet. I had noticed on the couch there were some of her clothes. It looked like some work clothes of hers. Suddenly, she comes through the front door dressed like she just came from a party, and she didn't say anything to me about a party. I really didn't care, but the fact that she didn't tell me was not like her. She blurts out that the party was a last minute thing. I said, okay. I didn't want to make a big stink about it, so I didn't pursue it. The next 3 weeks were normal. We did our date night, had some fun in the bedroom. Nothing was off or seemed out of place. My guess is she knows what she's doing. I think she is throwing him off by sleeping with him, making him think that nothing is wrong. About a week later, my wife didn't come home until about 2:14 a.m. Totally out of character for her. She didn't call me or text me, nothing. I flat out asked her what the hell happened tonight to where she couldn't call or text me. We got into a huge fight. She said she was out with some of her employees and friends from the coffee shop. Then she made this comment about controlling her. I said to her, really? That's what you think this is about? I left it at that. The following 4 days, it was like we were strangers, and she never ever apologized for not letting me know where she was going to be. To my surprise, I kept my cool. I wanted to see if this would work itself out. Well, it didn't, and I found out why. A friend of mine happened to drive by one of my wife's homes that she owns, which is in a pretty nice neighborhood. He is a cable installer. He told me he saw my wife outside talking to a guy. I told him it was probably her tenant she was chatting with. He said, yeah, I get that, but man, they were so close, like they were almost kissing. I told him I thought he was being ridiculous. He said, okay, I just wanted to let you know. I thanked him and went on about my day. When my wife got home that night, I didn't say anything to her about what my friend said. I kept it to myself. The following days, I started to snoop a little. Started looking at the phone bill, didn't find anything suspicious, and drove by her coffee shops when I knew she would be there. She was mostly at her coffee shops, so my mini investigation didn't really turn up anything. So one night after work, I decided to go visit the three homes that my wife owns. I drove by the houses, nothing. Then I drove by the two coffee shops she owns. She wasn't there. My last stop was at the gym. Nope, not there either. When I got back home, she still wasn't home. It was after 11 p.m. by this time. I realized then my marriage had shifted. I was always taught, get proof first before confronting someone. With that said, I went online to do some research. I researched trackers, wouldn't really prove anything, maybe a voice activated recorder, possibly. So I ordered two voice activated recorders and I hired a private investigator. I really don't think voice notes were enough by themselves to prove she was doing something she wasn't supposed to be doing. When I got the recorders, I waited until she was asleep. I placed one under the front passenger seat and one recorder in our bedroom in case she was home before I was. The recorders would pick up any conversations she was having. When I met the private investigator, I told him I didn't have any proof she was doing anything except that her attire had shifted a little and she stopped communicating with me about her whereabouts. I didn't bring up the conversation about my friend telling me my wife was a little too close to her tenant. I didn't think it would have amounted to anything. I gave the investigator the addresses to all of her tenants, their names, the address of the laundromats, and the two coffee shops. The investigator got started the next day, but before the private investigator came back with proof, the voice activated recorder in her car recorded a devastating conversation that my wife had with a friend of hers who lives a few hours away. She told her friend that she wanted to open up our marriage. She wanted to experience being with other men. She loved the attention she was getting. Then another bombshell was dropped. She told her friend that she had two one-night stands 2 years ago in her coffee shop after everyone left. Oh, that's nasty. What a trifling woman. That was devastating to listen to. 1 week later, the private investigator asked me to meet him. I went to his office after work. He proceeded to show me my wife kissing a guy who wasn't her tenant, but someone else. He followed her. What she did was, it was dark. She parked her car a little ways down from his house. She walked to his house. He greeted her and they started kissing. But he also noticed another woman and man in the house before he closed the door behind him. I was devastated. The private investigator handed me a business card of a divorce attorney. He told me to call her. He said she was good. The next morning, I went to see her, started the divorce process. When my wife went to work, I moved out of the house, only taking the bare minimum until the divorce hearing. I didn't want to be near her. I ended up staying at my brother's place, who was shocked beyond belief. When my wife realized I had moved out, she blew up my phone. Then her call stopped. She showed up at my brother's place asking what's wrong. I told her these exact words: "You need to get the fuck out of my face before I do something I regret." My brother grabbed me and told her to leave. Well, thank goodness his brother was there. You guys should have seen her face. About a month later, she was served with divorce papers. 3 weeks after that, we had the divorce hearing. I ended up getting $3,000 per month in alimony for 10 years and one of the rental homes she owned. Let it be known, I didn't ask for alimony. My attorney pushed me for it. She said if she was the one being cheated on, you can bet she would have definitely asked for alimony. Yep, she's probably right. Tony, I appreciate you sharing my story, but I do have a confession to make. I have consumed your content for about a year. I thought some of your stories were BS until I got that phone call from my friend. I don't know, but that phone call gave me a suspicious feeling, only because by then my wife was acting a little weird. Again, thank you. Well, I don't really have anything negative to say, but try to listen to your gut and pay attention to those not so glaring red flags before they become glaring red flags. Until next time.